Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Go Talk Show. This is really exciting today because we've got like a whole little gallery of people hanging with us, and we might get more people showing up, which would be good. And I'm going to tell everybody if you have any questions, if you just want to join in on the conversation, please just unmute yourself, or if you're comfortable, just raise your hand, whatever, and we'll join in on the conversation. And as usual, Tracy and I really never have anything really we're sure we're talking about. So we're just going to start talking about things. And again, any questions, let us know. But welcome back, Tracy, Renee, and our whole crew. That's good. So what are you thinking, Trace? Anything in particular coming to mind? I like the kinks in the hose, by the way, but go ahead.
Well, we can start off with that. Before everyone jumped on, Renee and I always give our, hey, what came up this week? Seem to see the themes of what's coming up. And kinks in the hose was a big one. But does anyone, right off the get-go, if anyone's got a big question, or I think that'd be fun just to let
Yeah. Or
we can.
anything happening in your life that, because we were talking before everybody got on, that everybody seems to be in these clashing things right now. Everything's breaking down, and there's so many people like little fights, little arguments over stuff because everything is like we said, the frequencies are changing, everything's breaking down. So I'm assuming everybody else is having some sort of crazy thing like that too. Larry, yes?
Yeah, well, what I see in general is I see I don't know if you call it polarization or not, but I see light going towards light and dark going towards dark. It almost seems like there's getting to be a clear lineation between light and dark.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that kind of to the kinks in the hose, Renee and I were saying it's getting challenging. I see it as the contrast is getting so vast. And I feel like I'm walking around going, wait, don't you see that? Like, don't you see what's going on? Whereas people don't. They really don't see it that way, or they're not interpreting that way. And then that's how we were talking about, like, wow, it's getting tricky to navigate because you don't want to walk around saying, how can you not see that? Don't you know everything's changing? Like that doesn't work anymore. Can you feel the difference of how things are happening? And then I will give Renee, really no joke, 20 examples in my life and businesses of things bottlenecking, kinking in the hose, blowing up, and which gives me even more, want to look at everyone and go, it's all right in front of your face. Don't you see, like, it's time to course correct. It's time to think differently. So yes, Larry, exactly.
Yeah. And I agree, Larry, because that is exactly what seems to be happening. And again, if we think about it, with the frequencies, the energy shifts that are all happening, they've been pushing us, they being whatever, whoever you're going to call it, God, the universe, the healers, whatever. They've been pushing us for the last year to like, feel what is right for you. And Tracy and I were saying before that that makes sense because there's all sorts of things now that they can take your voice, they can take your picture, whatever, and have you doing things that aren't you. And Tracy, you brought up a really good point about feeling the integrity. Right?
Yeah, in relationship issues, but also I was talking about a business design thing. And I love this concept that there's really no right or wrong, good or bad, but some things feel better and they feel more in alignment to the energies that are here and where we're going. And it's an energetic shift. The magnetics are different. So what worked a year ago quite possibly is not going to work anymore. And that's awesome. I always say people don't like change or the whole idea of evolution. Like that's the only thing that really is a constant, right? We're always evolving and change is always happening. So isn't that awesome and cool? Like, and then start feeling with your heart, well, what feels right? And it's becoming, you can't even put it into words because I want to walk around. I'm like, but don't you feel that? Like, feel this, option. Now feel this option. And for me, it's such a like so palpable of which one feels. I'm like, wow, that feels good. And don't you see how like that would flow and this, but some people don't feel it. They don't. They're logically in their head. Well, but yeah, but 1 + 1 = 2. And I'm like, not really.
Really, that's truth, man. Like everything is changing so much that we can't go by the old way of doing things. Like I said, even 1 + 1 = 2. It's that same thing. I'm like, wait a minute, what feels right? Because the truth, what they're saying and what they've been saying is the truth that we think we know is not. That's all the programs. So, and we're now being pushed out of the programs. So it's a matter of, okay, what way are you going to know what's right and what's wrong? And they're saying by feeling it when you're, in that heart center. And the heart center is, I've gotten a few questions where people will say, well, how do I drop into the heart? How do you go into the heart? And it's really just, for me, just stopping for a second, and I'll say, or I'll think, okay, I'm just going right to the heart now. And if you're paying attention, it's so subtle that if you're paying attention, you might feel that subtleness, or you might feel a little calmer, or your breath might change, something like that. It's really very easy to do. And that's what I love. Like, when I started doing this, whatever, 35, 40 years ago, Jesus, I'm old. It really was so different from now, because now things are so much easier because the energy is changing. More people are getting it, and it just shifts and changes every aspect. Plus, we're getting a lot more help from whatever the archangel, whatever you want to call them, archangels, God, whoever, that are assisting in the energetic shifts of the world. And Mother and Father Earth are also making big shifts and changes, because they too are done with the heaviness, and they're going back into the flow, which is really a testament to all of us doing all of the work. Because what they were saying, like about a week or so ago, when I said, well, how come you being Mother and Father Earth, like, how come you guys are changing, and what does that mean for us? And they said, you are all changing, and you're now coming back into alignment with who we truthfully are. And we was the Mother and Father Earth. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting, because I've always seen it the other way. Oh, the earth's shifting, and now they're changing, so we're able to change. But it was really interesting that they were giving all of us kudos that you're all changing, you're awakening, you're not, how they said it was, you're not sleeping anymore. You've all woken up to a particular point, whether you recognize that point or not. Everybody's woken up, and we're shifting and realigning into the true energy. And they were very clear, and the angels and all that were the same way. It's not the truth that we've known. We have been in sleep mode. We've been given a ton of information, which was perfect back then because it was a different energy. We're not. We're in a lighter, freer energy, and we're moving back into who and what we are, but we have to feel it. They said the feeling is the key. And that's why, like, I love, Tracy, when you said feeling the integrity, because it really is does that feel right? Does that feel right for me? It might feel right for somebody else, and it might not feel right for you, but following that whole aspect, if that makes sense. Yeah. Anybody, any questions, anything? Go ahead, Gabby. Are you raising your hand? Oh, yep. Go ahead, Gabby, and then we'll just unmute. Yep.
I was thinking about some things the other day. September was a rough month, I think, energetically, physically for a lot of people. And I feel in the last couple of days that there is a shifting of that energy. But every time you bring up the word feeling, what's making me think is people are so emotionally charged right now. And it's such a reactionary, it's like we don't even give ourselves the time to stop and think. We're just, or most people are just reacting. But you're saying feeling, and I'm thinking of that emotional charge. And I feel like there's a connection there. Like, is there going to be a better distinction for people, hopefully in the next few months, if not next year, of discerning that the feeling from the emotional feeling charging everyone? Does that make sense?
Yep, total sense. Tracy, take this one first, because you're so good at that with the restaurants and all of that.
Larry, did you want to, before I jump in?
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna bring up too. Like you were saying, Tracy feeling and Renee's describing it. And I'm glad you said that because all of a sudden it brought me into my feeling and out of my head. And yeah, but I try to always stay in my heart and stuff. And it's just it's just changing the focus and realizing you're dropping from your head to your heart. And when I talk about being in the heart and feeling too, I'm also thinking of my third eye and my solar plexus. Um, that's kind of where I stay. And I think at first it was, this goes back a while, but I think it was a little scary to get out of your head because you want to think it through, but it's nice to be in your heart because instead of thinking it through, you're choosing and you're feeling. So you're sorting through things, so you don't have to worry about thinking or anything. But if you stay in your heart and your third eye and solar plexus, you're seeing what's best for you along the way.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, and it was interesting. I was saying to Renee about, and this was a business thing, which are so much easier than, big political front or, suffering. There's certainly things that are happening in this world that are tragedies. So those are a little harder topics to like, how can you not get emotionally outraged when it's so clearly, something that's awful that's going on. But um to kind of, I always say, apply the alien perspective. That's just my fun way of saying it was a business decision, and it was so clear to me, some definitive pros of alignment of the energies and how it would work out. And so I was trying not to get frustrated. And I just was like, okay, can you see this through like heart intelligence and just laugh? And I could get there of, because so many things in our life, if you back up substantially, they're not that big of a deal. Because we make them a big deal. Now the big travesties of life, I don't have, those are a lot harder, but I don't know why, like child sex slave trafficking, like how can you not be emotionally invested in that? But I would say, unless it's happening in your life to someone you can step back a little bit and really just bring some great heart presence to it. Getting outraged about it is really not of benefit, but bringing some heart presence to it is of huge benefit. And I do feel like, Gabby, you said, oh boy, the charged conversations going on. And I don't really get involved because I don't see the benefit of it. I will listen to, I'm out in the world a lot. I got a lot of people who've got a lot of opinions. And I've learned just to listen, and frustrates the shit out of people if you're just like, that's interesting. Like they want you to react. And I'm like, I'm not going to. And I don't anymore. Like it's not how I want to spend my energy. So I don't. And then it's such a curious thing to watch, like, wow, that really pisses them off that I'm just not going to engage. So it becomes it's that whole energy management thing. And we do have feeling it, but yeah, there's a lot of feelings that are coming up lately, but that's kind of every day is this journey and exploration of trust. Like that is such a huge piece for me, to the point, and Larry and Gabby, I'm not sure if anyone else is from Florida, stuff comes into my mind. And this morning I was like, I think insurance is a scam. It's ridiculous. It's out of control. I own businesses. It's unsustainable. Literally, we should just shut down all our businesses because we're in Florida. And they, what, in a policy that used to be 20 grand, they're like, oops, sorry, canceled. Now it's 80 grand. Like it's ridiculous because our businesses are on the water. So Gabby knows this. And I was like, wow, hurricane season's coming. I'm like, I think we should cancel all of our insurances and trust. And then it's like, how much do you trust? Well, I'm like, I trust so much that I think if a hurricane comes, my business, because I trusted so much, I'm not entangled in that energy, nothing will happen. But then I'm like, would you really do it? So I challenge myself, like these trust pieces are huge. And this crazy brain kind of does think if I wash my hands clean of that energy of insurance, I don't have anything to worry about because I've elevated to a different belief system. And of course, my belief system's gonna, show up for me. So it gets interesting back to the feelings, right? Like, can you trust? Can you go beyond that? Can you go beyond everything that you've been taught, this is how we do it, this is how it works? Well, what if that's not true?
So true. And also, what they were saying, Gabby, was with the emotional charge, they said when you're focused in on you, when you start to disengage, and that's what, Tracy, you're so good at, and Larry, clearly you've got that, down, where we're disengaging from all of the, what I'll call all the crazy, going on in the world. Because like you, Tracy, I don't engage in all of that stuff, but there's certain things that will come into our life, with, personal people, whatever, and we can get emotionally charged. But the more you're in you and really following what's true to you, and I think I'm basically reiterating what you said, Larry, just sort of in a different way. When you're doing what's true to you, that doesn't, you don't get entangled into that so much. And it really is a very definitive, oh, okay, this is the emotional stuff, and I'm not going to get entangled into the emotional because this is pulling something up in me. It's always a recognition for me. Like when something comes up, I'm like silly things. Like today, I was walking the dogs, and the one dog always pulls, always, no matter what. He's this little guy, right? And I always get pissed off. I'm like, Benny, stop pulling, stop pulling. Sometimes you listen to somebody better. But I was standing there because I'm there smelling trees, right? So I'm standing, I'm like, why does that piss me off so much? Like, why am I getting so emotionally charged by this? I'm like, oh, because you want control. So that's I'm like, you want control, Renee. And you've always said this is their walk, but now you're trying to control their walk. So are you going to choose to go into that energy and continue to create it? Because I think what a lot of times we don't realize when we're engaging in all of this stuff that's going on, and I'm just going to say like globally now, okay, we're engaging in all like government and all that crazy stuff. What I don't think we realized is how much we are helping to create more of that, because we're putting that anger, that hatred, that whatever it is out there to that. And now we're helping it grow. Okay, when you say, okay, you know what? That's crazy. And now I'm not really engaging in that. And it's tough. And I will admit that's really tough. Now it's easy for me, but that's really tough in the beginning. And when you're saying that, you're coming back into your energy. Does this feel right? And if somebody's doing something, like I'll hear things, going on, and it's rare because, I don't watch any of the news or anything because it brings me into a place I don't want to be in. And I'm like, you know what? That's not the world I want for me. And it really is very interesting how some of my friends that are really engaged in that on a daily basis, and if we get together and they'll start talking about that, they know that I'm not engaged. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, I really like to hear everybody's perspective, because nobody's going to hear things the same way. Nobody's going to say things the same way. So I'll hear it and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. I don't ever take it to the point of, like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore because you've got that opinion. I'm like, that's how they're seeing the world. And that's what makes the world go round. But I don't judge them for it. It's like, okay, that's the opinion. But can you see how the more you're complaining about, do you see how the energy is going there? And do you see how different, because some of these people, like I've known for years and years, now say, do you see how different your life is now that you've engaged into that to when you weren't engaged into that? Do you see how much hatred and how many things in your life aren't going right now? Because that's the energy you're pulling in. How can we have this energy, and how can we be in this field and expect to now bring in all these wonderful things? It's impossible. It's a frequency. It's an energy. You can't. That's the energy field you're in. So, when you're in that particular place, it's very easy. But when you start to say, okay, you know what? I can hear this and I'm going to disconnect from it. Don't engage. Like when the minute you say I'm going to disconnect from it or disengage, whatever words you want to use, you're disconnecting from the energy. So what you're saying is, okay, I've heard this. It might be charging me right now, but I'm going to disconnect from the energy. The more you're doing that, the more you come back into you, more into that heart center Larry was talking about. And then when things are set, you'll notice, oh, okay, I'm actually disengaged from that and I'm hearing it, but it's not emotionally charging me anymore. And I'm feeling my feelings. And believe it or not, when you're in that field, it really is, and whoever, answer if this is it, it really is a very calming energy you have. And you hear these things and you're like, I feel what Tracy said. That's interesting. Okay. Does that help? Does anybody else have anything to say? Does that help answer that? Because they're saying the more you do that, it is very distinct that this is my emotional charge and this is what I got to work on. And this is me feeling me. Does that help, Gabby?
Oh yeah. And I've been doing that for a while. I don't engage. I did get caught up. I don't watch the news. I don't like to read the news cycles too much because I feel like it is the energy trying to pull you into that. And I don't want to be in that. But for me, I think it's sitting back and watching other people. It's almost like I see it like the people that are so engaged in that energy, I see it as the energy fighting. It's like trying to hold on.
Yes.
It's going. It's trying to hold on though. And it's not funny to watch. That's not the right word. But to watch, it's so interesting to watch people cycling in that. Now I try not to do that. Yes, you have things in your life that are going to piss you off every day or frustrate you or whatever. And you fall back into those maybe old trends, because Lord knows I do that. I work in the restaurant business too, like Tracy, and it's really easy to get sucked in sometimes. But yes, no, that was great. And that is something that personally I've been working on. Like, I don't want my world to be like that, so I'm not engaging like that. But it's interesting to watch. It's almost like when I see people acting on certain things that are that triggering, you can just see that it's the energy fighting to stay where it's at. Which goes to what Larry said, to where I feel like that polarization or contrast is so vivid right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And what's really interesting, when I see people getting, into that, I'm always like, oh, okay, that's their choice. That's their, plan of life. Like, they're in that for a reason. I always look at it from, they're in there for a reason. They're probably going to make changes, meaning in the world or whatever, because some people, I'll notice that when they're engaged in that, I will also see this calming energy go out. Like those on the spiritual path, like a lot of, and what they're actually saying right now is a lot of the people on the spiritual path have been getting tied into that the last year or so, tied into politics, crap going on in the world, like all that stuff that's, happening. And they said because they can get angry, they can get frustrated, they can get all of that energetic, antagonistic field out in the open, because it's not just for them. They're saying they're pulling it in for a lot of people. So if somebody's engaged in that, let's say like I'm engaged in that, I'm pulling it in for a whole consciousness. It's not just mine. So it might feel like you're really huge for some people. And they're saying, so when people are doing that, they're being pulled into that, but they also have this calming spiritual energy. So the spiritual energy is throwing, they're showing like this circular thing right at the root, at the bottom. It's not at the root yet, it's just at the bottom. And it's going to start to filter in, because these changes have to be made. Changes have to be made in the world, and they are being made in the world, they're saying, on an energetic and a frequency level. The more we're connected in to that higher frequency, that higher vibration, the more all of this is going to completely unfold, and the world will, and they show it, like they show the world here, and like just all this turmoil, like they're showing like it vibrating in a really uneven, freaky way. And, they're showing like this flower coming up the thing. They said it just completely overturns, but enough people have to put the proper energy there. So whenever I see people engaging, I'm like, okay, good for them. Because usually if I'm talking to somebody, usually on a spiritual field, right? I don't really communicate with anybody other than that, just because that's the field I'm in. But it's a point of like, it's interesting to me that I'm like, oh, okay, they're engaged in that. That's great. I'm going to send them peace and calm, because that's going to help them bring that whole field right. And eventually it's going to hit the roots. And, they're in that field, because then the roots will shift and change. And then we're in for a huge shift and a huge awareness and a huge awakening in the world, where enough people get it, and they're saying it's not overnight, but very quickly things will change and shift. And we're like, well, what the hell just happened? Like, how was everything awakened and changed? But again, I think it's always that when we're recognizing that, oh, that person's into that. And just like with you, it's not judgment. It's, oh, okay, I'm just going to send them peace. And sometimes I'm just like, I just send them all they need, because I don't know. If I'm saying peace, that's very limited. Where I'm like, I just send them all they need to help that light or whatever go. Because just like Gary said at the beginning, it's definitely going in two different ways. And we're going to be in this middle piece. The middle, they're saying, is such a great frequency, such a great calming presence of your truth, everybody's individual truth. It's joining forces in that, and just moving forward in love and light and peace and calm and whatever it is we're going to be choosing. But all of our truths are all diminishing, because they're all based in programs. If that makes sense.
Could I say something?
Absolutely.
We were traveling last week, and I'm trying to get to a point to where my ego doesn't run everything that I talk about anymore, which is really probably the hardest thing you can do. And when I would meet someone new, we actually met a guy at a coffee house, and we talked to him for 3 hours. And I could not separate my past, the things I've done. I just was creating the story of what my life has been, because over 3 hours you cover a lot of different topics. And I thought to myself, was I really present there at all? I was just regurgitating the programs, the who I think I am, I don't know how to step away from that. It is so frustrating when I think back. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. Everything is spinning really fast, but yet I'm not sleeping well. I've been waking up at 3, 4 for the last probably 2 weeks. There's nothing to do at that time of night. So you kind of get like, okay, should I try to sleep? No, I get up. So anyway, I do feel a lot of shifting, changing, but I also think when you fall back into that ego side, it kind of gives you more energy, which, because you just feel at home, even though that's not really representing your true self, because those were just experiences you had, that they don't define you. And that's what I'm struggling with right now, is how to, and I'm an empath, so when you talk about feelings, I feel so much. Sometimes it's so confusing. I'm not sure what's real or not. Um, but it all passes through your ego anyway. So it's just, there's so much that I just feel, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I shouldn't even go out. I should just stay at home and try to be quiet and not be influenced by anything. But that's not going to help, or maybe it will. But I have a friend coming in to town today that I haven't seen in like a year and a half. And I don't know how to be.
And
So that
anyone want to chime in on that one? Yep, go ahead, Larry.
Just in short code or whatever, when your friend comes in, I would just listen with your heart. Overall, that's what I would say.
Nice. Anybody else? Go ahead, Gabby.
Catherine, so over the summer, probably for a few months, and this is just what was going on for me, but I feel like it pertains to what you're kind of talking about, because we do all have our stories. But I felt like I was reliving in my mind those few months, a lot of my past. Like I found some old pictures that brought me to this past and then thought about this. And I had to really sit for a while and think about it. And I don't know if this would help you, but instead of thinking like you're regurgitating the same stories, because we all do that. I mean, we have our lives, that's what our lives are. But I was thinking it was more of a review for me, a review happening again because of the energies changing. And I was thinking for myself that I needed that review to be gentle with myself on a lot of things, a lot of choices, and to really try and work on those are the things that shaped part of who I am, and to be thankful for it, which I know everybody hears that, oh, you should be grateful for, give it love and set it free kind of situation. And I feel you. I've been hibernating in my house. Tracy and I have been good friends for over 20 years, and we used to see each other weekly. I've just been hibernating for months. I go to work and I come back and I'm like, I'm fine here in my bubble, but we can't always do that either. So we have to take these small steps. And it is hard because we're in a place, I can't go to work and talk to the people at work about all of these things that I want to talk about because not everybody's there. But I don't know. I just feel like maybe if you could think of it more as a life review when you're feeling those ways, and just kind of accept that these are things that made you the beautiful person that you are, and it's okay. And now you're going to write a new story. I don't know. That's just my take on that.
I love that. I love it. That's awesome. Trace, what do you got?
I just think it's ironic that, and Renee, you can attest to this, before we, when we were talking earlier, one of the first things I said to Renee is, I don't know how to show up anymore every day because I'm so aware of my patterns. Like I'm really self-reflecting a lot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at me showing up, reacting that way and doing that and wanting that. So I think the more we're aware, which Catherine, it seems like you are, then you start to get like, well, shoot, it's this whole thing of we're in this state of availability of pure creation. Well, what does that mean? Like, so every moment we're recreating ourselves and we can show up as we choose, which is very dizzying for us, which comes to the spin rates, because I feel like this is a big conversation. The geometric storms, the Schumann resonance, all of Mother Nature, there's all these big electromagnetic shifts that are happening. Science is talking about them if you want to go to science. So, and I know I, said to Renee, I'm like, wow, the spin rates are shifting and changing, and it can get so dizzying, like in our body, in our mind, in our environment, that you don't sleep, that up is down and down is up. And how do you like stabilize? Renee and I talk about this a lot, and it's kind of a big quantum physics conversation that a lot of people aren't really, I don't want to say they're not interested in, but it's kind of that it's not a visual. We can't see it. You can, with our eyes, but, I think that's where we're at. And I think, oh my gosh, how exciting for you, because you're there. Like you're the awareness and the questioning. And I always say, wow, I have all these questions with no answers. Like that's like my new thing. So many questions and no answers. And isn't that exhilarating and exciting? Most people are like, no, it sucks. It's terrifying. I want to know. Someone tell me what to do or what to think. No, that's not where we're at. Like it's that pure creation piece. And one more, because I have a lot of businesses and I'm almost to the point of laughter. We are paying a lot of experts, whether it's construction or architecture or accountants or you name it. They're all experts, right? So we pay way too much money because everything is triple, quadruple the price that it used to be to, I'll talk bluntly and dramatically, make bad decisions, just like we paid an AC guy $8,500 to replace some ducts. And the next day it was leaking. He drilled into our insulation. So now we had a mildew problem. So we paid an expert all this money to create more problems for us and not solve the original one. And I could give Renee, here's my everyday. I'm like, you want to hear the 50 things that happened this week? And I was just saying yesterday, I'm like, wow, the only thing that people are experts in anymore is their ego. Because I talk to so many experts in their field. Trust me, you don't know. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know. And I think you think your $10,000 an hour price tag makes you an expert. You have no idea what you're talking about because everything's changing. And it can be challenging, frustrating, discouraging. But again, said to Renee, I try and bring laughter to it, even when it is a huge gut punch to the bank account or to the business or the health. Like I'll say to Renee, I'm like, what is with this pounding vibration in my head for the past 2 days? Like, and some people would be like, oh my God, you better go get that checked. You have a tumor. And I'm like, no, it's my neuroplasticity rewriting itself. Of course, I have the beautiful Renee to pipe in and be like, get a hold of yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. But you just brought up so many great points that could be, oh my God, what do I do? And it's like, isn't it beautiful? We don't know what to do, which, I mean, you have to kind of embrace it or you'll drive yourself nuts, because I think we're to the point, and probably everyone here is so aware of everything changing. And I'm talking us internally, literally our organs, they are changing, our thoughts, who we are, where we're going, the spin rates of the electricity and the electrons around us, which could terrify you, or, oh my God, infinite potential. Holy shit. Like Renee, you said it. Every truth that we've known is being reknown. And as we always like to say, remember, like we got this. If we could just take a deep breath, have trust, and remember. Is that easy? Oh my God, no. Am I so grateful I have people like Renee and you to be like, what's happening? But I will listen to stuff or just to like remind myself. Like it's just not me. I'm not crazy, because there's other people, all of you. They see it, they're feeling it, right? Like we got this at some level. Let's keep telling yourself we got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Tag, you're it.
Exactly. Catherine, and what I also wanted to say was, when you're waking up, when we're sleeping, like we're out there, we're traveling, we're doing all sorts of stuff. Okay. And they're saying for you specifically, you're out there because you're an empath, you're out there, you're working with all sorts of different energy fields. Now, they're not referring to like energy fields of the people here on Earth. They're saying you are out there working with so many different energetic fields to have them come into alignment with each other. And because they're showing like all this crazy, right? And you're like in the middle of it. Okay. And you're spinning around because you have to be a piece and a part of all of these other energies, but you're the calming presence for these energies. So as you're spinning, not only is that shifting and changing your own field, but you're changing the field out here, like in the field of whatever you want to say, the universe is whatever. Okay. So you're shifting those fields and you're creating that balance between all of those. You then come back to your body because you're sleeping, right? You then come back to your body. And that's the time when we come back. If there's such a huge vibrational difference of what we're working on in our sleep and what we're the place we are in this human field, it's like a crash landing. When you do that crash landing, it's like, boom, you're awake. You're up. And they're saying, now what you have to do is start to rebalance your energy fields. So when you wake up like that, if you can just sit there and breathe, and they're saying not taking deep breaths, feeling how your body wants to breathe, because that breath, they're saying, is very important for your energy fields to come back into alignment together, because on a daily basis, you're inundated with so many energies as an empath that you now have to, now that the energy and the logistics and everything else is changing here, they're saying the more you're breathing, just how your body wants to breathe, Okay, there's the more you're doing that, you're creating the energetic field realignment and restructuring. And notice what my hands do, right? They're saying it's coming down. Now notice this is you sleeping, right? Okay, now it's going up. So they're saying you're going to probably feel this for a little bit. Then all of a sudden it's going to be, okay, you're here. When you're there, and they're saying that could take 2 minutes, that could take 5 minutes. It depends on, what you've been working on out there. And they're saying, but as you're sitting there, you're just breathing and not thinking, oh my God, no, I can't go to sleep, or this is the time. Just breathe how the body wants to breathe. And you can have your thought be, okay, I'm just realigning with all that I am, or whatever comes to mind, or no thought at all. Because they're saying the minute you're just breathing, you're aware. Because they're saying you are so aware internally and externally. They're saying, I don't know if you've done something the last 3 to 4 weeks, but they're saying the last 3 to 4 weeks, you like heighten your awareness like nobody's business. So they're saying even to have the awareness that, okay, I'm just regurgitating stuff. Like they're saying that was such a huge movement forward for you. And they're saying recognize that, and they're so proud of you for all the work that you've done, all the work that you're continuing doing. They're saying this for everybody here. They're saying, and everybody listening, we're so proud and so happy to be assisting everybody in these shifts and in all of the energetic works that you're doing. But they're saying, so when you wake up, breathe, just breathe, let the whole alignment happen. And they're saying, because you're so aware, the ego, when you tap into the ego, they're saying it's just a comfort zone. So the more you say, and I'm going to use Tracy's words, because you've said this on previous episodes, where, okay, I choose to go beyond this. You're not going to know what the beyond is, because the human mind wants to try and tell you. The human mind doesn't know. You've been in this whole program, this whole pattern. It's like, well, what the hell am I? But when you have that whole thought of, okay, let me go beyond this, you're connecting in with that energy field that's here when you're sleeping. You're connecting in with that. And you might all of a sudden feel this calm, and you might all of a sudden be exactly what Larry said. You're just listening. You're sitting like, oh, okay. Because you're starting to come into the awareness that you don't need to say anything. It's the feeling, it's the listening internally as well as externally, and just being. Because when you just be, they're saying your vibration, your energy goes out and it just calms everything. And then you'll notice the changes, how the conversation changes. And I'm excited for you that your friend is coming in that you haven't seen in that long, because it'd be very easy to be pulled into the old comfort zone. Right? But if you're practicing, I'm just going to be, I'm just going to be who I am, because you don't know, right? We really don't know who we are. Like, so I'm going to be who I am today. Let's see what that shows. And the minute you recognize, because they're saying they're going to help you, like Archangel Michael and Ariel are standing behind you. They're like, we're going to help you. We're going to give you a little shove. And we're going to have you be like, okay, nope, this is your ego going to talk. You want to talk with your ego? Go ahead. But you're going to feel the difference. So they're saying, so just be and say, huh. And you can even say, they're saying, don't be embarrassed to say, I don't know what to say to that, because I'm not the same person that you've seen. And I'm really figuring myself out, figuring out who I am. They're saying, and when you go to sleep, and they're saying this for everybody, when you go to sleep, I remember who I am. And have that mantra being all day long, especially you, Catherine, because she's coming in, right? So I remember who I am. And the more you're doing that, the more they're showing like your whole energetic field like shifting internally, and you'll feel lighter, you'll feel freer, because I feel like you've got this like heaviness on your shoulders and your neck. They're saying that's all gonna go, because you're just holding on to, well, how do I not be this? And like you just said, like, okay, great. That's not who I am anymore. I remember who I am. And they're saying you'll feel that. And they're saying everybody can do that. You'll feel that shift come into
Renee, I just felt a calming vibration go through my body. Now that doesn't sound right, does it? Vibration doesn't sound calming, but I can
Yes, it
feel it in
does.
my arms and my whole body. Thank you.
Absolutely. See, and you did that because you're listening, you're open to it. So, yay. So, and you'll feel that today. Like keep allowing that to go through, and especially with an empath. Everybody else on the call that are empaths, like I don't even know how you do it. Like I just thank God I'm not an empath, because my daughter's one and she gets hit and it's like woo. So, but that was love. I'm going to have my daughter listen to this, because she's going to need whatever they told you. She's going to need that too as an empath. So it's good. So now when you wake up at 3, 4 o'clock, we're like, woo, all right, did some work and I'm recognizing a little different. Let's go. Anybody else got anything on that one, or anything for that matter? Let's scroll through to see if nobody going, yay. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Did you want to, it says Brim?
Go ahead, unmute.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
No, I just wanted to circle back to you, Tracy, actually. And Renee knows the situation I've been moving through. My son is 20 now, was 19. He was diagnosed with cancer. And so we've been moving through that. And I haven't updated Renee. He had a clean scan a few weeks ago, which was amazing because he started out with a pretty good size mass in his chest. And so, Tracy, when you talked about trust and walking away from the insurance, and Renee would know this, we had choices to make about traditional versus alternative treatment. And what we ended up doing, we circled around a few times about what to do. And deep down, I really didn't want to do chemotherapy. And he didn't really want to either. But at the time, we had to make a choice, and things were very touchy with around his heart at the time. So we ended up pursuing the treatment. And even in the middle, we thought about stopping, and we almost did, but we both got this strange nudge that we were meant to continue on, which was very not what we really thought we wanted to do. But what we did end up doing was adding a tremendous amount of alternative treatment to what we were doing, to the traditional, which, and Renee will know, like for me personally, I just wanted to go alternative all the way. I didn't want to, and I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for many years, and I left that field and went into teaching, but I'm still a nurse. I think you're kind of, once you're a nurse, you're always a nurse. Even if you think you're a recovering nurse, you're still a nurse. But anyway, through that process, the other thing I wanted to mention, Tracy, back to you, was the fear involved. And the nurses around us, and I could read their faces because they knew on paper what was going on. And so many people just wouldn't, I guess, give him that, you're going to be good, you're going to be good. Like he felt he was going to be good. And Renee knows I was very, very much trying to stay on the, it's going to be good, even though I struggle with that. And she knows that very well. But ultimately, we chose to believe that, okay, we didn't really want to embrace this treatment, but what we ended up doing was we thanked it, we blessed it. Every time they hung a new bag of chemo, and his chemo was very intense. It was like 4 days in the hospital, 24 hours a day, he was getting something, and then we'd have a break. But anyway, we would bless the chemo, we would pray over the chemo, we would play the singing bowls to the chemo, we had crystals in the room, we would clear the room, and the nurses thought we were nuts. You could tell that they were like, what the hell is going on in that room? And eventually I did, because you have to be very careful, like how much you're willing to share about what you're actually doing in the background, right? So I was very particular about things, and he was too. And but certain things we would share, like like my singing bowl and like the crystals and stuff, and we had them lined up on the windowsill. And sometimes people would ask, and you could tell they were kind of curious. But I guess the point I'm making, Tracy, is it does take a tremendous amount of trust to put yourself out there and then embrace, and how do I look at this differently? Like Renee was just saying to Catherine, like, how can I look at this differently? And it was a shock to me when I found myself with my hands on the chemo bag, trying to send good energy and Reiki, and well, not trying, I was sending the energy and the Reiki into it, and actually thanking the chemo and thanking it for doing only good things and doing only the positive things. And we only want the best and highest outcome. And we are grateful that we have this modality that plays a role somehow in this process. So we tried to, just navigate it like that. But when you said about the fear is very real. And the fear is the hook to me that keeps us in that old way of thinking and being in those programs. And probably this is just me repeating what Renee told me, because she helped me so much during that time, especially in the very beginning when I was literally, I think, in shock in some ways still. But the fear is the hook. And I think when we are willing to look at the fear, and it's easy for me to say this right now, obviously, we're in a different place than I was, and Renee knows how in a different place I was then. But don't let that fear get its claw in you. And when you recognize that you're in that fear, or that old thing is coming up, to like I said with the chemotherapy, like I didn't really want to do that, but I found myself just thanking it for the part that it played and trying to set some boundaries about what it was allowed to do and what it wasn't allowed to do. And with my son and I together doing this, and it was so beautiful because even though he's so young, he embraced this with me, and we did this together, and all the protocols and all the things we did in the background, I said, I'm doing this with you, we're doing this together, whatever you have to take, I'll take. I mean, other than certain things I couldn't take, but I just tried to support him. And so, Catherine, I was thinking about your situation too. What do you want the outcome of your visit to be? And maybe you start with the end in mind, and think, okay, how do I want this to look when my friend leaves? What do I want this to have been for us? And I don't know if that's helpful, but thank you for listening to our story, and any good vibes you want to send our way, we'll take them.
I want to jump in here a little bit. Thank you for sharing that. That was amazing. And Renee and Gabby both know my story. My daughter, who's now 20, ended up in the hospital with, we thought was appendicitis. They diagnosed her with Crohn's, and I'll condense the story, but I just asked a few questions. They called child services on me and forced her to get in a pretty much a biologic, infusion. Oh, by the way, it was $10,000, and oops, your insurance doesn't cover it. For 6 months. It was horrifying because I knew she didn't have Crohn's. I could see energetically. They forced her to take a medication that I was adamantly against her taking, only because I knew she didn't need it. So now I have, do you see all these things that the universe gives us? I was a mess. I was a mess for all the reasons. And I just, every night I would go back to trust, go back to my heart. And I was shown all these little, don't worry, there's wormholes, all this stuff that I had no idea what it meant. Looked it up. And I was like, I don't see how we get out of this. Now my husband thinks she needs this. She thinks she needs this. Sure enough, within 6 months, the medicine didn't work. So they put her on 2 more medicines. And she said, I'm not taking these additional medicines. She chose, I'm not doing it. After the mandatory, you're going to get thrown in jail if you don't do this, period was up. She's like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Switched her from a pediatric doctor to an adult doctor. She took the lead because in the hospital, they said, this is the only medicine she can take. She has to take this one. She asked the new doctor, who, by the way, she's never seen again. They told me I had to be on this medicine. And the doctor, the new one, said, well, that's just simply not true. So I think she was horrified that pediatric doctors lied to her, forced her to be on this. She had to sit in a cancer infusion center for 2 hours getting a treatment. But I love that what was my choice? I worked with the medicines. Renee helped me. Gabby was with me on the journey. I just said, okay, I'm going to work with the medicine. I'm going to work with her body. We are going to take whatever good can come out of this and use it. And oh my God, the amount of trust you need when you can see what's going on on an energetic truth standpoint, and talk about contrast, Larry, and what the reality is not telling you forcing you to do, horrifying. So the level of trust that I had to maintain and hold on to my I know what truth is. Okay, so that was a year and a half ago. She's off at college. When I tell you this child is thriving, she's not on any medicine. She takes a couple supplements. She is like kicking ass in life. She's an example for me. I mean, and all of a sudden, I just said, please make it whatever is going to be for her best health and thriving. She drinks lemon water with chlorophyll. She shops at the farmer's market. She eats healthier than I do. Like, she is such an example to inform me. I'm like, how is she? Like, she's kicking ass. What happened? You know? And it was stress. I mean, it was not that something was happening in her body, no doubt. But she saw that she was doing it to herself. She was invoking this level of perfectionism. And this is just a good conversation for everybody, for any example, a relationship, a business. Why don't I have money? Why can't I work on relationships? Why do I have a recurring health problem? So please take this, our conversation that we're sharing, and extrapolate it out to what is relevant for you or, you know, in your life. But holy shit, would I want to go through that again? Hell no. The level of trust and faith that I had to hold was, I don't, and cancer is even more. I kept reminding myself, it can't kill her. But it wasn't that, it was the brutal injustices that were being rammed down our throat with that expert and the authority that, seriously, guys, celebration. So these are great, like, raw, vulnerable shares of this stuff is real. And again, I would never want to go through that again, but I love your what you did. Like, this is what we have. So we're going to hold faith. We're going to do everything we can do to work with the energies to turn it into good. And I just, for example, for you, sometimes I look at my daughter and I'm like, I don't even know. Like, how did we get all of that? How did we get out of all that? Like, to me, and I believe in this stuff. I say this stuff. It's a miracle. It's beyond me. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how we walked away from all that, but we walked away. And now she is an example for me of how to do life to its fullest. So anyway, just to share the energy back at you and share that with everyone. Like, God, no, I've been through the gutters of shit. And that trust piece, the hold your heart. What do you want it to look like? What do you believe in? Where's your trust? Where's your faith? Okay, repeat.
I'm so glad you shared that, because that was his experience too. He should meet your daughter. They would have a great conversation, because he's embracing this. And he told me, he said, I almost have to say I'm grateful this happened. He said this experience saved my life, because he was going in a direction that was very unhealthy and very not sustainable. And he recognized that when we got into this, and he realized, and he's doing exactly like your daughter. Like, he's down the rabbit holes researching, what can I do to be healthy? And he drinks soursop tea every day, and we've done all these different things, and he's looking up, what can I do to make sure I can have children in the future? Because, like I'd shared with Renee way back, that was his concept of having children is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. When he shared with me how devastated he was that, maybe I can't have children, and then he shared his thought process behind that, I was just blown away. So just like you, he amazed me, and he has helped me grow too, just like I'm so glad you shared that. It just confirms so many things. And I'm so sorry you had to go through it, but I'm so grateful that you're on the other side.
And you too. Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
And we will keep sending. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
thank
Just
you.
alone, I could just see like the fireworks around him and the experience. Like, yes. So yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. Renee?
What I think is really awesome about that is recognizing we don't know the big picture. So, in both these cases, and, for everybody else as well, we don't know the big picture. So we start to go through something, and instead of looking at it as, oh my God, now, in that negative light, and certainly we do in the beginning, in that negative light, but then flipping it into, okay, I'm going to make the most out of this. I'm going to put the positive energy, because I used to always say, the physical form, the mind sometimes needs something that the medical field has to say, oh, okay, now this is going to work because I'm doing this. And the fact that you both were infusing all the right energy, the right stuff into it. You didn't look at it as like, oh my God, this is going to kill my body. This is going to do whatever. So it goes to show the actual energy behind it, what, how different it is, the way you're looking at things, how different. But again, exactly what Tracy said, extrapolate that out, like to anything and everything in your life. It's the way you're looking at it, the way, what energy are you putting to it? Do you want this to end up positive? And we can't create for other people, but we most certainly can give the proper energy there and assist them in whatever way. And that goes out, they're showing that, like in big, they're saying you can do that with the entire world. We cannot create, they're saying, here's what they're saying. They're saying we create individually, which creates globally. So think about that next time you're putting energy to something, you are helping to create whatever. So, you're buying into something, and now it's hitting your entire consciousness and the other consciousness and the other consciousness, and the other consciousness. And they said, Gabby, I think you said this, where, everybody, and they're always saying, and that's the old energy, the old thing where everybody was saying, okay, send love and be appreciative for it, and then just let it free, whatever. And they said, that's the old energy. That's, that worked for some people, back then. And they said, because it all depends on what everybody's here to experience. And they said, but the truth of the matter is, if you just be who and what you truly are, remember, that whole thing of like, I remember who I am. And you are in that state of now. And everybody thinks that is such a big, I don't know how to get there. Trust me, the minute you're saying that, you're there in that moment. Okay, who do I want to be at this moment? What am I doing? But the same, when you just be in that moment of now, all of the past just goes. It's gone. They said, because it can't survive here. It's two totally different energies. And they said, people aren't realizing the energy and all of the frequencies, the vibrations, and they're showing all this water going down it. And they're saying, like, everything has changed. So when you just are in that moment of now, where you just be who and what you truthfully are, and are grateful for living and breathing and being that, they said your whole life will change. And you may have memories of, they said those memories are only coming up because they're leaving your body. And they said we can always choose to hook into them. And when you hook, and they're literally showing me a hook, hooking into a memory that's here to leave, instead of being like, oh my God, I remember that. Yes, that was a horrible time in my childhood, blah, 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 whatever it was. They said, if you choose to hook into it, but even when you hook in, this hook is of pure light. Now, they're saying this is just really shifted within the last 2 weeks. So they're saying, so that hook hooks into that, because it's light, it's immediately dispersing this back into light. So what's really happening is, if you're still regurgitating that, they're saying now you're just recreating. It's a whole recreation of what we had gone through. So just allow that, when you recognize, you feel that feeling or a memory or whatever, they said, just allow that to go. Just say, and they're saying it's going naturally by you just being. But when you feel it, like, oh, yeah, that was interesting, then just let that whole aspect be. And trust me, from experience, a lot easier said than done. And it wasn't even this easy back then. But from what they're showing, it's really going to shift, because right now there's an energetic field coming down in the earth, and it's probably not really down, probably out, but they're showing it to me like almost blanketing the earth. And it's this really light, beautiful, iridescent color. I don't know if anyone can see it or feel it, but as it's coming down and hitting not only the earth, but everybody and everything on it, it's immediately transforming all of our, and they're not saying the fears, because I was like, oh, are they fears? And they're saying they're transforming all of our memories of what we knew. So that's all shifting and changing into something new. And they said exactly like, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? Who are you? Because that's the truth of the matter. We can create and be whoever we want to be. We chose to buy into a program. We chose to buy into a pattern that is so old because that's what we were told as we were growing up. And that's what our parents were told, their parents, and then it goes on and on. They said, but this is the first time that everybody on the earth now has the option to be whoever or whatever you want to be. But they're saying, just be in that moment of now, and you'll be in that peace and that calm. And they're saying, certainly we're going to be pulled out of it every now and then, but recognize it, see it differently, and then choose to go beyond that. Because if you're just thinking that, okay, I'm going to go beyond this, I said, you'd be surprised what actually starts to happen. So that's their 2 cents. Anybody have anything else they want to say or share? Trace, anything? As I'm scanning, if you're raising your head, doing anything like this, sometimes I'll miss that when I'm scanning the thing. So keep doing it. Anybody else? Anything? Trace, anything?
No, but I think that that's like such a exciting, I love that how you ended on that. And it's the remembering, the going beyond, the trusting. And I remind myself constantly, the energies of a month ago, they're not the same. And I think we can all say, just look anywhere. Stuff is changing so quickly. Like it's not even, years ago, it was kind of like theory and we were talking about it. And I know I get really impatient. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Can stuff start moving and shifting and changing? So it's exciting. And even if it looks a little dismantling, which it is, it's at least it's moving. And I am constantly reminding myself of that, that pure creation energy is, gosh, it's so exciting, but it's so new for us that of course we're not going to well, maybe, gosh, if you do, more power to you, master it on day one. Well, like, I got it. Look, I'm flying. Everyone's going to know. That's like my textbook. You're going to know when I'm flying, I got it. And then of course, Renee is always like, why are you blocking yourself? And I'm like, I don't know. But I always try and put myself back to the excitement piece. And I know for me, it's a constant reminder to remember that we do have all this within us and to keep having that excitement. I think we'd be fooling ourselves as if it was saying, oh gosh, yeah, it's easy. Just do it. Just be, just remember. But it is that process of, getting through your day. And oh my gosh, aren't we so lucky? We have all these opportunities throughout the day to remember. So laughter, right? We always come back to the laughter and the fun. And even when you're Renee and I both own it. I will go off on a spiral of a tantrum of impatience and frustration. And I have this little other element of me being like, are you done yet? Are you done throwing your tantrum? Not yet. I still have a little more that I'd like to get out. But anyway, I guess that's my point. Try and keep it fun. And trust me, I don't know anyone right now who doesn't have, I don't want to say bad days, but whatever challenging days that have a greater opportunity to remember. And I always say, I hate when people say stuff like that, but you got to say it. We got to use words, right? And there's still some truth to it. So, right? Let's go.
Yeah, awesome. All right, if nobody has anything else, we're gonna wrap it. I think I would love to do this once a month because I think it's important and to get it. Okay, good. I will no doubt not send another group because I just sent it to my whole mailing list that we were doing this. So if you watch the Let's Go, we'll certainly be announced on there. But if you want to be on, like, I can start a whole new list. Like if you want to be on my list of, okay, hey, we're going to do another one of these, just send me an email. And it's Renee, RENAEMUSS@gmail.com. And I'll put you on the list. And then anytime we're going to do this, we'll give you a heads up. This one is actually going to post on the 27th of the month. So if you want to rewatch and listen to that, that'll be awesome. And on behalf of Tracy and I, thank you so much for being here, everybody. This was awesome. I absolutely loved it, and the information, and thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing. This was absolutely beautiful. Teresa, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yes, somebody wants to say hello to you.
Oh, we got a kitty.
You want to be nice? You look at kitty, kitty.
I didn't realize she had so much tan on her.
What?
Teresa rescued my neighbor's cat. My neighbor had passed away and none of the rescue places were taken out. I was like, well, Teresa used to rescue. Let's see if she knows anybody. And she took her. So thank you, Teresa. How is she doing? Good?
She's still a little cranky, but she's a good girl.
She was always cranky.
Yeah.
She's having one of those days. Well, thank you for letting her say hello. And thank you for being here.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Good, thank you. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you again. So in the meantime, what do we say at the end, Trace?
Choose wisely and let's go.
Bye, everybody.